Welcome to Your Hair Made Simple, the podcast, where we encourage you to embrace your natural hair with clarity, confidence, and courage. I'm your host, Shannon, and today we're back for another episode of season 2, where we're talking about the experience of our hair really being more than just hair. And today I have a guest with me to tackle a topic I'm really excited about. As I've talked with other listeners about, sharing the show with their moms, having people that they want to transition to being natural or encourage to transition to being natural later than life. I have with me a guest who transitioned to being natural later in life to talk about that topic, as well as transitioning away from having perms. So our guest today is Carmen Walker. I'm excited to introduce her. She grew up in Louisiana. She is the oldest of 6 kids. She has a bachelor's from LSU as well as an MBA from University of Wisconsin. She's worked in a variety of areas, from market research to radiation therapy, PRN, to an office administration, and most recently as a budget analyst in a public school district. She is also married with 2 adult children, one of those children being myself. So this is my mother. And she is currently in Georgia learning to make self-care a priority for herself. So I'm very excited, Carmen, for the show to have you on today to talk about your journey of what it was like for you to transition away from having permed hair to being natural later in life, and what that experience really looked like and what were some of the factors. So I'll turn it over to you to say hello and to tell us how long you've been natural.
I want to back up just a little bit and thank you, Shannon, for having me on. Currently, I am in budgeting. I'm not quite an analyst, but I am in a budgeting capacity. So thank you for that. I have had my hair natural. It's been 20 years. I had to look back at pictures and kind of think about this, but it's been
Yeah.
20 years since I've started this process.
Yes. And so talk a little bit about what it was like for you 20 years ago, right? Like what time period, what age kind of period was that for you? What did life look like 20 years ago when you were making that decision?
So early 40s. At that time in my life, I had a medical situation come up, diagnosed with thyroid disease. And in
Mm.
talking to family members, I recall one of my relatives said, "Oh, well, if you have a thyroid problem, you shouldn't be relaxing your hair." And so I just took that person at their word and said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do." And so I stopped relaxing my hair. Now, at that time, 20 years ago, the internet is not what it is today. So it was very much word of mouth, or you go to the library even. Um, so there was not a lot of information around. And so it was very much trial and error and talking to other people and seeing what they did and what they used, and would that perhaps work for me?
Yeah. And so one for thyroid disease, do you mind just sharing a little bit more about what that actually is?
And so the thyroid gland regulates a lot of things, and there's hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. I think I've gone back and forth between both. But one of the things that can happen is you can lose hair. Your hair can start thinning and
Mhm.
shedding. Um, so perhaps me going natural negated that, because in my instance, my hair never got extremely thin. I know I did experience some shedding, and when I learned about the disease, I was like, "Oh, that's what this is."
Yeah.
Um, but there are different symptoms that come about. Different individuals. Some people, it can affect their eyes, bulgy
Yeah.
eyes. Um, but in my instance, uh, I'm glad I got diagnosed when I did early enough to make that relative say to me, "Stop relaxing your hair," because we now know relaxing your hair comes with its own set of issues.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this relative, right? Like when she said this to you, of course, like we like to take our family for their word. And like you said, 20 years ago, the internet was a very different internet than the one that we're looking at today with YouTube University, honestly, TikTok in its own sense. Like you can find so much information wherever you want. But did this relative have like anything else other than being a relative that made their opinion valid to you, or like any other like facts or
They
information that they shared?
they had experienced thyroid issues as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so for them to say to me, don't relax, stop relaxing your hair. Um, yes, it was a hard pill to swallow because I have been getting my hair relaxed since I was 5 years old. Coming
Yeah.
from Louisiana, where it's hot, it's humid, it was commonplace for people to have relaxed hair.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing to say, oh my goodness, now I'm going to not relax my hair when I've been doing this or having it done for all these years. Because when this transition came about, like I said, I was in early 40s.
Yeah.
So that was the big, oh my goodness, this is really big. But on the
Mhm.
flip side of it, um, with relaxed hair comes the the burning scalp from the
Yeah.
lye and the relaxer. I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember having sores in my head, scabs in my hair from the relaxer, because there was this timing thing. You didn't want
Mhm.
it to stay in too long, but it had to stay in long enough to get your hair straight. Um,
Right.
so there was a lot, excuse me, a lot of that. And so to walk away from that, that was a plus to me. Now I don't have to worry about, these sores in my head and letting them heal and tender spots in your head and so forth and so on.
Yeah. Um, so I can appreciate, right? Because I'll share, like I've never had a perm, so that's not an experience that I've ever had to go through. I did get my hair straightened, so like having the hot comb burn my ears or like the crown of my
Yeah.
forehead or those different areas, I can definitely understand. And I was uncomfortable enough with those things. So I can only imagine the discomfort of like scabbing or different irritations. And
Mm-hmm.
experiencing that for essentially 35 years of your life, like the entire up to that point ish, right?
Yeah.
Because from 5 to
Mm-hmm.
about 40, um, that's already respectfully longer than my lifetime. And
Mm-hmm.
my hair has gone through its own kind of like journeys and changes in that. And so really looking up after such a long period of time and having manage your hair one way, and then having your community, right, who also has experienced these health issues. And so it sounds like for your relative, like they also had like their medical community pretty much sharing advice that they were able to then turn over and share to you. So it wasn't necessarily like this is just coming from somebody saying this. It's like this is coming from somebody who is also experiencing a similar
Mm-hmm.
thing, and they like it's this is a resource that I have access to at a
Yeah.
time when information was not as widely accessible, to kind of pivot and guide your own decision making. Um, because perms in and of themselves, right, like they change the chemical structure of hair. Like that's why they're taking your curls and making them straight, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
grow perms out to like really see your curls and see your growth. Like they're essentially like weakening your hair strands and breaking them down, um to make them be straighter, and honestly making your hair more vulnerable to other damages. So I can people like yes, people enjoy the looks in those things, and even with like other types of perms, because there's perms that can make your hair curly, there's all different types of perms, but essentially
Mm-hmm.
they're altering the initial structure of your hair. And in that altering process it can be damaging, right, like which has its own side effects, its own health side effects. I know some reports have said that it can increase your risk for certain cancers, just a bunch of different types of things that come from those chemicals being on our scalps and being absorbed in. So the world of perms and the experience, right? It has all these things, but it was also familiar. It was also familiar. And so
Mm-hmm.
going from something that's familiar, even in recognizing the benefits of I don't have to deal with these scabs or things anymore, did you necessarily have an understanding of like what the other side was going to look like not getting a perm? What did that look like trying to navigate? Okay, I'm not going to get a perm anymore, but what do I do now?
I had no understanding. I basically was okay. We're going to do this, and stopped doing the relaxer. I didn't even know to basically get my hair cut, to kind of cut the perm out. I
Mm.
just remember I didn't do the relaxer, but I just shampooed my hair and left the conditioner in, because I remember I had this friend who's now deceased, but she was wearing her hair natural, and so they were like, leave the conditioner in. This was before leave-in conditioner actually started being produced, so it was just the
Yeah.
regular conditioner, just left it in my hair, trying to simulate some type of curl pattern,
Hmm.
which initially my hair wasn't doing because it was still used to being relaxed.
Yeah.
So it took quite some time for my hair to grow out of that relaxed state. Um, Even in getting it trimmed, it took a long time, because
Yeah.
that's all my hair knew. That's all it knew. It
Yeah.
wanted to go back, but I wouldn't let it.
You said, I'm leaving here with something, and it's my hair.
And when I think back on it, I probably looked real crazy on occasion, uh, at the beginning of this journey. But when your health is at stake, you take those chances. You do what you need to do, move forward.
Yeah. And I think that's so powerful, right? Because like you had this condition that you found out about, right? But in a way, it kind of highlighted something that was already happening with your hair and like could have gotten worse from your disease,
Mhm.
right? Like in the sense that once you stop perming, it's like, wait, there's no curls there, right? Like there, it's not, as strong as it could be. And continuing to get the perms with thyroid disease could have like made it worse. It could have led to hair loss, and not to say like everybody's pathway is different, but like in your case and in your journey and your story, like you were able to find out at a time and kind of like really pull back. And even in the time pre leave-in conditioner, which you can go to the store now and find like 50 million leave-in conditioners like on any wall, which you still need to read your product on any wall, excuse me, you still need to read your product ingredients, but there's many options there,
Mhm.
um and so I'm curious, as you were like growing it out and cutting it out, did you have a stylist, like, or somebody that was able to kind of like help you and walk you through as you learned those things as well?
So the person that I was going to and getting my hair relaxed, um, I continued to go to her for a while, but then I had to look at her clientele and her area of expertise. And
Hmm.
her wheelhouse was not natural hair. Now,
Yeah.
as much as she gave perms to people and did beautiful styling, she stopped relaxing her hair, but she just wore it pulled back and it was long.
Hmm.
I had always worn my hair cut in some type of
Hmm.
style, but it was always short, pretty much. I may have let it grow out for a period of time, just very briefly. I can't remember when, but I do see a picture where my hair is like maybe shoulder length.
Hmm.
But for the most part, it was always a precision cut style.
Yeah.
And so, in looking at that, I said, I need to move toward someone who has knowledge in what I'm trying to do, in the path that I'm trying to go down. So, for a while, I didn't have a hair care provider. I just washed my hair, conditioned my hair. Um, for a period of time, I just went to the barber shop and let the barber
Hmm.
just shape it up. It just and people talk about curl pattern. To me, I didn't have a curl pattern. It just was hair on my head.
It's a little
Just
fro.
that yeah, a little
Yeah.
afro, and I would go to the barber, and the barber would shape it up and line it up, and that went on for several years. And then um, a coworker told me about a hair care provider that was good with natural hair, and so I started going to this person, and that's been very beneficial for me because you know she was concerned with my hair and my lifestyle, and came up with suggestions. Let's try this. No,
Yeah.
don't do that. So I felt very comfortable, and I'm still with that person now, that hair care provider. I feel very comfortable because I feel like she is looking out for the best interests of my hair. Um, and so I'm very pleased with that. But it's been a long journey. I've had people suggest products to me, and I've tried products, and it worked beautifully for them, but it didn't work for me at all. I mean, just did nothing in my
Yeah.
estimation. So there's been a lot of money spent on various uh,
Yeah.
products for my hair, because everyone's hair is different. So what works for one person may not work for someone else.
Hmm.
Um, and so you have to be very, very flexible, and know that. And a lot of people think natural hair is not a lot of work, but to me it is. It's a lot of work, um, to keep it up, to keep it looking healthy.
Yeah. Or not even looking, actually being healthy, right? Because like
Yeah.
that's really what you're doing. And I appreciate there's different stylists for different times and different seasons in our lives as
Hmm.
well. And so like really just being able to recognize like this is not necessarily the type of style that I want. And so in one of our episodes from season 1, we interview a licensed cosmetologist, and she talks about, stylists will really let you know like what they're good at, what they do and don't want to do. And so like some people can do beautiful styles, and like if it's a perm, if it's whatever, like that's not the priority. It's like, is the style beautiful? How can we get there? How can we execute? And they're excellent at that, right?
Hmm.
But if you
Hmm.
are prioritizing, like you want a beautiful style, but you also want like healthy hair, you want it to be natural, like recognizing that there are stylists who will also do those things, and really just being okay with having to go on the
Hmm.
search, right? Like you said, you were permed for 35-ish years, right? And now you're natural
Hmm.
for 20-ish years. So that's not even
Hmm.
half the time that you were permed. Or, well, it's a little over half the time
A
that you
little
were
more.
permed that you have been natural, right? But it's not, you
Hmm.
haven't been natural for as long as you've even been permed yet in life.
Hmm.
And so I guess if you count those years 0 to 5, we get a little bit closer, but were you
Yeah.
really caring for your hair then? You're just outside living life.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but even in like the journey of learning, sometimes it's coupled with unlearning. And that I think sometimes the
Hmm.
challenge in learning can be that like I also have to unlearn at the same time in addition to
Hmm.
learning this new thing, and that's hard, right? So you're unlearning, this is what hair care with a perm looks like. This is what like my maintenance with a perm looks like, while also learning new things.
Hmm.
Um and sometimes that can feel a little bit challenging for you. I'm curious because with myself, I take things like, okay, like let me try this one shampoo at a time, like sub it out. Was there anything that helped to make the transition more manageable for you? Like you found your stylist, you kind of had your barber for a while, but like was there anything that helped to make it like a little bit easier for you, or just to kind of like manage your transition a little bit better?
Well, um, what made it easier is products became more readily available.
Yeah.
So that made it a little bit easier at the same time, and it made it a little bit hard because now is you're getting more out there. Which ones do I use? Which ones work for me? So again, as
Yeah.
I alluded to, it's you, you try something, it doesn't work. What I mean by it doesn't work, it might leave flakes
Yeah.
on you. It might flake up, white flakes,
Hmm.
or maybe something in it that irritates the scalp. But so you leave that one alone and you try something else.
Right.
And there's so many things, different things to try: the shampoos, the conditioners, there are all kind of little gels to lay your hair down. So there are a lot of variables in play. Um, so it would take a while. It took me a while,
Yeah.
to figure out each little thing: the shampoo, the conditioner, the um, hair
Leave-in.
moisturizer, even the daily moisturizer once you're
Mhm.
done with the shampoo bowl. So um, the availability, the breadth of products now has made it easier. Mhm.
Yeah. And to your point, I think once you're in kind of like a curiosity and research mindset, that can even make that a little bit easier. Because in the same way, like what is in a perm, right? Like once you understood
Mhm.
what was in a perm and the chemicals and the impact they were having on your hair, you were also able to assess your hair and how it was reacting and say, like, this is not going to work with my lifestyle and my health needs. And the same way with products, like, what is in these products? Like, is this going to dry my hair out? Is this gonna so like it's almost like that same kind of like research methodology
Mhm.
that you can use and approach and even like read some things beforehand. And as you learn, like, okay, my hair really likes this ingredient, or my hair really reacts negatively to this ingredient, or it gets dried out by it, and that kind of like helps process of elimination what
Okay.
isn't gonna work for you. But some of it is just genuinely like one, learning your hair, your curls, and who your curls are, right? Because if you're coming from a perm, you really haven't seen them. So you have to give them a chance to be like, who are you? And let them like come out and grow. And like, again, especially if it's been like a longer process, just being patient because it's like you're undoing so many years of something.
And
And
my curls were very shy. I mean, it took some years
yeah,
uh, for them to come out because stylists would say, "Oh, your curl pattern," and to me, I'm like, "What curl pattern? It's just it's there, you know. It's
I
just
just have hair.
it's very yeah. I just have hair." Um,
Yeah.
so it took a long time. Um,
Yeah.
of the 20 years, I would say my hair has come into what I'm gonna call its own, for lack of a better term, in the last like three
Yeah.
of that whole span of time.
Has part of that also been finding a style that you felt really worked for your hair?
Um, that yes, and still the ongoing search for the product.
Yeah.
You know,
As the products have evolved over time
as
too.
the products have evolved. Yes, yes. So for my hair is different, not only because I'm not relaxing it, but initially I thought, oh, my hair is going to be so hard. I don't know where I got that from, but I thought it's going to be hard to the touch. Um, but in reality, my natural hair is very soft.
Mhm.
My relaxed hair is what was hard to the
The
touch.
chemicals are making it hard, yeah.
Yeah, chemicals, the curling iron, but
Yeah.
my natural hair is soft to the touch, which was surprising to me. So,
Yeah.
and I don't have the flakage that I had when I had the relaxer. My
Mhm.
scalp is not nearly as irritated.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
powerful. Are there other things that over time you've noticed the difference in as well?
Um, my hair feels less brittle
Yeah.
um, with the relaxer. And again, I didn't really think about my hair a whole lot. I would
Mhm.
just go, every however many weeks after my relaxer would last, and I would just go in and just get it
Mhm.
relaxed again and retouch, as it was called, and touch up. And then
Yeah.
I wouldn't think about my hair again until it was time to
Time to
go
go
back.
back.
I would, of course, hot curl it every night. I had my little routine down, but I really didn't give it much thought. And
Yeah.
so um, when I transitioned to natural, oh my gosh, I had to really think about things.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and for the good, to me, for the
Mhm.
good. Everybody's experience is different, but I'm glad that things happened when they did, because now I feel like I am not putting toxins in my body, because now we're
Mm.
all more health conscious. There's more information on the internet about just health in general. So
Mhm.
um, I feel good about that for myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. It's really like caring for a plant. You're seeing it come into bloom, you're understanding more about it. I think that's
Mhm.
powerful. Um, in learning about your hair as well, right? So like in your career you had your time like doing radiation therapy as well. And
Mhm.
so being just in like a healthcare space, right? Like that's not necessarily like targeted on hair or anything. Um, but I know we've talked a little bit previously about you're working with cancer patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
knowing that like one of the risks of perm is like an increased risk of cancer, like I'm just curious, what were your thoughts around that time and like being in this space? Um, and was what time period was that in your natural transition?
So that would have been early in my natural transition, probably like around year 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it just made me aware of cancer and its impact on people in general. Uh, I wasn't really thinking, oh, thyroid and cancer. It just made me aware of the impact that cancer can have, all different types of cancers
Mm-hmm.
on your body, and
Mm-hmm.
how it's worth it to invest time in your
Yeah.
care, in your self care. Um, Hard to do, but very very worth it, very needed.
Yeah. I can only imagine. Just being in that space and
Yeah,
thinking about your health while also like helping other people in their health journeys
yeah,
and navigating, what that looks like, right? And that's in a service profession in that type of way.
yes, yes. It was um, a warning card, I would say, because I was
Mm.
never diagnosed with cancer, thankfully, but seeing people who were and their struggles certainly made me say, okay, you did a good thing by moving away from the relaxer. In my mind, I did a good
Mhm.
thing by moving away from the relaxer to something that's more natural and, in my mind, better for me
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
way of processing my hair.
Because it essentially reduced the risk for you. Like it took away a risk agent. Is that a fair assessment?
Um, that would be a fair assessment. I mean, even if I had not had thyroid issues,
Hmm.
just a decision to walk away from the perms, because now research is saying it lends itself to a higher propensity for cancer.
Yeah.
So just that alone would be a benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Because health is wealth.
Yeah.
Health is health
Yeah.
health is wealth. And so
Mhm.
the natural journey is people can I also appreciate about your journey too. And just for those who are listening, she has a nice tapered cut with are these finger curls, little coils that you have in your
Uh,
hair
so this
with
is
a little bang in
rotted.
the front? Hmm.
Yeah, all this is
Hmm.
rotted. In the
Hmm.
back is coils. The
Yeah.
shorter part is coiled.
And
Yeah.
so I appreciate one that you were a shortcut, precision cut girly, and that has stayed true even in your natural journey. Like for you, it really
Mhm.
wasn't about like I want to grow long hair, I want to get length, even though like for certain people those things are very well within range and possible. But it was really just about like having healthy hair and hair that you
Mhm.
enjoy, and you've stayed true to your personality and the style that you like, even through being natural, and found ways to like accentuate the type of styling and natural hair that you like and that fits your personality.
Mhm. And and I must say, my hair care provider has been
Hmm.
helpful because I will take pictures and say, this is what I'm trying to get to. And
Yeah.
so one time I took a picture and she said, but that's your hair already looks like that. And I said, well, no, it doesn't. She said, well, with your hair, that's how the style is going to look.
Yeah.
Somebody with a different curl pattern or whatever,
Hmm.
it wouldn't look exactly the same. But she said, that's the style you have. Oh, okay. I take your word for that. Yeah. So that was funny to me because rightfully, all they're different curl patterns,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it'll make the style look different on different people depending on your curl pattern.
But that's probably such a big learning curve in and of yourself, right? Like going from my hair was just straight. Like I didn't even see curls. So now you're growing curls. And it's like, oh, I have curls. Oh, people have other curls than the curls that I have. It's just
Yeah.
like the doors opening and opening into like this bigger world of natural hair that's there.
Mm-hmm.
But I like appreciate just that comment there. It's like you can do the same style and it will look differently depending on how your natural curls are. And so just
Mm-hmm.
being like okay with this is how my hair is. Like this is the
Yeah.
style. This is how it will look on me and like recognizing that and then just finding the ones that work for you, finding the ones that best shape and
Yeah.
frame your face.
Yeah.
And leaning fully into that and like for you having a stylist, a safe space that can say like, hey, these are
Mm-hmm.
your curls, these are her curls. This is
Yeah.
the style on you, this
Yeah.
is the style on her. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
And I have to be okay with that. I have to be true to me and
Mhm.
my hair. Um, and I can't stress about that.
Yeah.
So I said my hair is rotted now because it's longer in the top, but it hasn't always been this length. So when it was shorter, the twist that I have in the back, I had twists all over.
Yeah.
But for me, I didn't like to see the parts, so that was a little challenge for my hairstylist because I didn't like to see all the different parts in my hair. But for a while, it was just the coils, the twists, all over. And then as it got to a certain point of length, then she said, okay, if you want, we can start riding it. And,
Mhm.
and then there was this whole conversation about curl definition. And so the curl definition is there with the rods. But anyway, this is where I am right now.
Yeah. The curl definition, just to clarify my point, like helping your curls keep their shape when they're
Mm-hmm.
dry, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those who are listening, just putting that in layman's terms. But this is where you are now, and
Yeah.
I just as a bystander of your journey, and even learning more about it today and right now too, especially with the health impacts. You know, I think it's just really powerful to commit to your health and to commit to like something that works for you and like see it through and find the ways that it best fits you and
Mm-hmm.
impacts your health and also just like makes you feel confident in who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think yeah, that's just a really impactful journey to see. And so
Yeah.
for those who are listening or watching, as we wind down our episode, if you could share any tips, any advice with those who are considering going natural or even transitioning from perms, particularly doing so later in life or even for health reasons, what piece of advice would you say? What tips would you share?
So be patient, uh, because you are going to go through learning about the products.
Hmm.
And there's several different types of products out there. And then my hair, again, having had a relaxer since 5 years old, it took it a long time to get to a state of where I would say I could see my curl pattern.
Hmm.
And so it may be a long journey to get there. It may be a short journey, but overall, I would just say be patient, and know there are no shortcuts. What's going to work for you is going to work for you, and it may take a lot of trial and error to get there. So just be patient with the process.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's very honest advice. Because I think we live in a society, especially today, where instant gratification is the order of the day sometimes, oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that some things, you know, worth having, a lot of things worth having are not instant gratification things.
Mm-hmm.
It's things that are grown with time, care, effort, and intention. Uh, so patience is sometimes just the fruit that we have to have until we see, the results that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would
And
agree with that.
yeah. And my final question for you is if you could say one affirmation to your hair right now, what would it be?
Well, first, I would like to say to my hair, thank you, uh, for bearing with me, because I'm sure there were
Mhm.
times when my hair wanted to pack up and go get on somebody else's head, because I didn't know what the world I was doing. My hair had no priority in my life. And so thank you, hair. And I would say now to my hair, I love you. You are loved. You know, that's what I would say. Yes.
My eyes are getting a little watery. I'm like, it's the laughter to tears for me. Um, I love you. And hey, it's your hair. It can't pack up and go to somebody else's bed. So we're grateful for that. And we're
I
grateful for
might
you.
decide to cut you, but I still love you. Yeah.
It's all love. It's all love. Healthy
Yeah.
trims, and then
Mhm.
cuts if we want some fun styles.
Yes.
Well, this was such a fun episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. For those who are listening and watching, thank you so much for engaging with us and joining us for today's conversation. And as we wrap up for today, remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And remember that all hair is good hair and your hair is good hair. Until next time. Okay. Bye, y'all. Thanks for joining us.